All right. Well, Drew, if you want to go ahead and read the article, this first topic is Jon Meis. Believe that's how you pronounce it. Meis, hero of SPU shootings, says God's grace allowed him to stop the gunman. Drew, take it over.
Yeah, the campus of Seattle Pacific University was shaken by a shooting last week, which left multiple wounded and one dead. But the human impact could have been much worse. The gunman, Aaron Ybarra, was stopped by college student Jon Meis, who pepper sprayed and tackled him while he was reloading his shotgun during the attack at the small Christian college. Meis is being held as a hero, and unsolicited donations have been pouring in to thank him for his courageous actions. Over $50,000 have been given to Meis for his wedding and honeymoon costs, though in his first statement since the shooting, he urged future well-wishers to donate to a fund set up for the victims of the SPU shooting instead. Meis released a statement on Monday through Seattle Pacific University, which credited God's grace for his courageous actions. He prayed for the victims and their families, and expressed his desire for Ybarra to find grace as well. Jon Meis was quoted as saying, quote, "To my brothers and sisters at Seattle Pacific University, and my brothers and sisters in Christ throughout the nation and the world, words cannot come close to expressing the tragedy that occurred this past week on our campus. Like everyone else, I would hear of these horrible events on the news, but go home knowing that it could never happen to us. On Thursday, my life changed. I was thrown into a life and death situation, and through God's grace, I was able to stop the attacker and walk away unharmed. As I try to return to a normal life in the aftermath of this horrible event, I pray above all things for strength and for the victims and their families." At this point, would any of you guys, do you have anything to say on any of this? Nobody?
I do. I guess it's funny that God's grace,
Yes.
came into play after people got shot.
Right.
God's grace sure has a weird way of showing itself. Like, I guess my main problem is that I get sick of people. The kid was brave. He's a brave kid.
Absolutely.
I've no problem saying that, but for him to give all the credit to, God and Jesus and everything, that you, it's like saying that's like saying you're the all-star quarterback that won the Super Bowl. Thanks, Jesus, because Jesus is the one that threw all those passes and did played the whole game, right? You're just giving away your talent and saying, oh no, and maybe that makes me sound conceited to say like, oh, this is my talent and I want to be recognized for it, but it seems foolish to sit there and say that after people get shot and you manage to subdue the gunman, that is somehow God's grace. If that's God's grace, I'll do without, thanks.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to go over something real quick, Drew, before you finish the article, is God's grace. And this is according to the ChristianPost.com or ChristianPost.com. And this is basically just, I guess, a general look or view on God's grace. Grace is God showing his love to you, even though you don't deserve it. You can't earn God's grace. You do not deserve to be saved from sin and to have eternal life. But God showed his grace by saving you from sin's punishment when you trusted in Jesus as your Savior. God, and this is a good point right here, God also shows his grace by giving you strength and guidance and by taking care of you each day. God, by his grace, gives you strength to handle difficult problems in your life. Isn't God's grace wonderful? Just like you said, TJ, real quick, and we'll finish here and then we'll talk a little bit more about this, is you're 100% right, is that people... I feel you're cheating yourself out of life for not giving yourself credit for doing good. You're giving God all the credit. It's pitiful, and I think that's why some of these people think less about themselves to a certain point.
They are very quick to give God the credit for the good things and
the bad things, yeah.
And then when
that shit.
they don't want to give him any credit for all the bad shit that happens. It wasn't God's grace that had the gunman shooting people. It was when a positive outcome, finally someone subdued him. Then that's God's grace. It's like when the Twin Towers fell in 9/11, and they ignore all of the rubble and the dead bodies and everything, and they go like, oh wait, look at that piece of crossbeam, it almost looks like a crucifix. And are you serious? And that's another example, I'm sure they would say, of God's grace and he's sending us a sign. What would you consider the sign of the 2 buildings and the thousands dead to be then?
Exactly. Unbelievable. Paul, you got anything to say about God's grace before we move on and finish this article?
Oh yeah. What I was going to say is it's interesting that God didn't protect this Christian campus, since it is a Christian campus, right? You would think that God would be there protecting all his followers and all the people who are there to spread his good message, right? Where is God at these places? Where is God in churches? Where is God in any of these places where violence happens? Where is God there to protect his children, huh? Oh, right, because he's not supposed to do that. He's not supposed to intervene. But then he intervenes by, possessing this guy temporarily and allowing him to subdue the person. Or maybe, adrenaline took over, and since the guy was reloading, he went and actually, took advantage of the situation.
Exactly.
Whereas anyone else who was clear enough headed and wanted to stop the guy and was actually willing to try to stop him would do it. It's
actually, after he subdued the guy, multiple other people ran up and helped him.
It's because it's also the bystander effect, because everyone else is expecting someone else to do it before they do it. No one's like, oh well, someone else is going to stop this guy, and no, But again, God's grace is the one that did it. Okay, so I guess God decided not to possess anyone else before this guy, or God decided not to possess the guys that he shot, and so that he could avoid, or so they could avoid their own death. It's all, he's. I hate that. I'm sorry. It's just I hate the there is no one takes responsibility for that action. No one takes responsibility for it. Is the guy did it? It's not some guiding force that did it. It's not some guiding force that throws Tebow's fucking passes. It's his hand. It's not some boogeyman that's doing it. It's just the person, and they don't take any goddamn responsibility for it.
I guess that would make them even more like I said earlier that I worried about, like, looking full of myself, wanting to take all the credit for my skills or whatever. But I guess it's being even more full of yourself to say that, oh, it wasn't just me. It was God helping me. God took his time to make sure we won this football game or some shit.
The guy's special enough that God helped him. He's special, we're special enough that out of the entire fucking universe is created especially for us to live here on this little dot. Remember? We're special enough. That guy is special enough to have those skills. Not that he's had years and years of training, Tebow, but with the other guy. Not that, instinct took over, like, fight or flight took over. Nope. God.
Exactly. Drew, you got anything to say, or you want to move on and finish the article?
I guess I can go ahead here. It's like Paul mentioned, but I was going to be a little more to the point. Because normally we would hear like the Fox News contributors and evangelicals claim that gun violence in school happens because we took God out. And I think a little more like specifically to the point is the fact that this was a Christian college where prayer is common and the 10 Commandments are glorified.
No, they want guns in school, dude. You got it wrong. So, just kidding. Go ahead.
He's totally right. What Drew is trying to say is that they say that the shootings happen at schools because they took God out of the schools. Well, they didn't take God out of the school, and yet there's a shooting.
Yeah, exactly.
And one last quick point that I want to bring up, and I'll shut up.
Christian college, so shouldn't God be there anyways?
Yeah, pretty much. But look, if this had been a guy with an AR-15 or an Uzi, or even like a 45 or something like that, those are way quick to reload. Shotguns take a lot of time to reload, which is the only. I swear, if he's spraying people with an Uzi and he was reloading, it would only take him a couple seconds. I don't think anyone would bum rush him.
That's exactly
They'd be running
the point.
The opposite direction. It's because he had to sit there and actually, to load a shotgun is a time-consuming thing.
Correct.
And it gives people that time. And by the way, this is an argument against the high-capacity rounds. I don't want to get deep into that at this moment, but maybe later we'll talk more about that.
Later on, we will definitely. Well said. And that's a point I was going to bring up, TJ. Well said. Drew, go ahead, finish the article.
Okay. He also says, when I came face to face with the attacker, God gave me the eyes to see that he was not a faceless monster, but a very sad and troubled young man. While I cannot at this time find it within me to forgive his crime, I truly desire that he will find the grace of God and the forgiveness of our community. I would like to truly thank the responders who secured the building and the medical staff who looked after myself and those who were injured. After being in this situation myself, it is even harder to imagine what it would be like to have a job where one's life is willingly put on the line every day. To our police, emergency responders, and armed forces, You have my greatest respect. He also says, I am grateful for the prayers and support coming for our home city and afar. In these next few days, weeks, and months, please continue to pray for everyone in the Seattle Pacific community. We serve a truly awesome God, and I firmly believe that it is through him alone that we will find the strength to heal from this tragedy.
I mean, to be fair, it's
we have to be
shooting
fair.
at a Christian college, so if there is going to be a hero, there's a really good chance it's going to be a Christian.
Right.
And that he's going to attribute it to God. Like, if anything bad happened at that school, like a building collapsed or something, and then, like, 9 people died, but, like, 1 person was saved or whatever, they would immediately attribute that to God because it's a Christian college.
I was going to say, anytime that there's something that beats the odds, I would say, it's something that they would classify a miracle. Of course it's God. The 10 people, like he said, 10 people die in a building, 1 person survived. Oh, it's a miracle. Actually, no, they just beat the odds for once. Maybe they get hit by a bus tomorrow.
No, I totally see what you guys are saying, but we got to be skeptical here to a certain point. It is a Skeptic Fan show, but what I want to say here is Jon Meis, he didn't want to be known as a hero. I know people are claiming that he's a hero and he's getting all these donations and stuff like that for his wedding. I think that's nice. I think it's sad that people have to donate all this money, $50,000 for his wife and their wedding plans and all that. I think it's a nice gesture. I think that's good. I think that money could be used a little bit elsewhere, in the local community, and victims, of course, Paul. But no, I mean, like, he came up with this statement here, and he stated, a hero cannot come without tragedy. It's a pretty powerful statement there that he made. You know what I mean? And I want to go back and touch on God's grace a little here. I wonder what God's grace feels like. You ever hear you hear these Christians out there saying, everybody knows God's grace. Everybody has God's grace. Everybody knows God. It's in your heart. So on and so on. But how does a Christian come to possess this grace? These are the questions I've always asked these theists or Christians. Why am I denied this divine knowledge, this grace? I don't know what this grace is. I don't know what it feels like, and to go on the other side of the spectrum, I don't want a supervising imaginary friend following me around. I don't want it.
That a Christian would easily just say that it's because you don't want it, that you don't feel it, that God respects your free will, and if you don't seek him, then he won't seek you or whatever. That's why they say God doesn't believe in atheists. It's of course, it's ridiculous.
But I thought it's also he's with us, but even if we deny him, also, so it's like
well, it's whatever they need it to be.
Whatever they need. We can't avoid it. We have God no matter what.
Well, of course.
Well, look, I think we should finish the story by saying,
I'm sorry.
I think this kid did a great job of
course,
and it doesn't matter if it had been a Muslim or an atheist or a man or a woman or a black guy or a white guy or a straight guy or a gay guy. It doesn't. This is not about your philosophies in life. It's how you acted in a severe situation, and he did an awesome thing. So
absolutely.
He gets my props.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And what I was trying to finish, but what I was trying to say is, yes, of course, if we were in the same predicament, if we were in the same position, the same scenario, of course we would probably. I know I would. I know if I had the chance and I seen the guy reloading.
You never know until you're in there.
Until you're in it.
Everyone says they want to do it, but like very few people actually do it. When you start hearing gunshots ringing out and the guy's just firing in random directions, your instinct most of the time is to find cover.
Is to run. No, I understand that. Like I said, we got to know the details on what happened. Yeah. Was this guy cornered where he couldn't get out, and the only thing he had to do was to either die or confront the guy? I mean, like, these are the questions we have to ponder. We got to be skeptics here. We got to think about the situation. We don't know. I don't know the details of this yet. So
he pepper sprayed him. So I assume he got to see him face to face at least.
Well, he probably
that's what he's saying. But, he being a confused boy. Don't get me wrong. The guy's actions are great, and I don't mean to degrade what he said, especially the hero part about the first responders and everything.
When it comes to something like this, of course, we got to give the guy props. Even though he. Some people are pushing as in, oh my God, he said it was God's grace. I understand. Okay, you're going to get that. We got to give the guy credit where credit's due. The guy it doesn't matter if you're a Christian or whatever religion you are, even if you're not religious, you got to say, okay, guy, good job. But, people are taking this as in some kind of, not him, but other people like, oh my God, look at this. God works in mysterious ways. He's a soldier of God. I've seen a comment, he's a soldier of God. God's grace, and that's what That's what pisses me off, you know. And he doesn't want that kind of attention. He doesn't want to be known as a hero, which I think it's very commendable. It's you know what I mean. So,
by the way, Soldier of God sounds like something a crazy guy with a gun would call himself.
Well, that's what they. That's what a lot of people call him.
It sounds
Soldier
like
of God. That's why I put that as our little pick here, Soldier of God, because there's so many people like agreeing with this one person on the forums, like Soldier of God. I'm like, what the fuck is that shit?
I like turtles.
I like turtles, but the funny thing is, his shirt. He has a NASA shirt on. How great is that, right? That's why I like. That's a pic of him, by the way. NASA shirt holding a fucking turtle.
Yeah.